What is the one thing that destroys the Trinity doctrine? Anyone can say that their doctrine is in the Bible. For example, Catholics say that their foundation is Peter the rock, taken from Matthew 16:16. There's other people, the Jehovah's Witnesses use an Old Testament scripture to say that they're the witnesses, Jehovah's Witness. And even the Muslims will say that Muhammad is mentioned in the book of Exodus when it is mentioned about a new prophet or that was going to rise up. They say that that's Muhammad. So anybody can use the Bible as an excuse to say that that's where their doctrine comes from. But that is not the way we do things. Because we need to go to the actual history. For example, the Catholic Church, if you study the actual history, it starts showing up barely in the 2nd century. And then in the 3rd century, you see more of the Roman Catholic Church. And by the 4th, it proclaimed the state religion. The same thing goes for the Muslims. In reality, their teaching started in the 600 AD. If you notice all the Trinitarian debates, all of them, go down the line. They never speak about the history of the Trinity. Why is that? Because that's their weakest defense and one that they don't want you to explore. Because if you explore the history of the Trinity, the development of the Trinity, you will find out that it is pagan, philosophical, and allegorical interpretation that gave them this Trinity. It doesn't matter who's defending the Trinity. Dr. Michael Brown, John Piper, John MacArthur, down the line. Lately, Anthony Rogers, Dr. Delcourt, Dr. Burgos, on and on. There's so many people that defend the gospel. But they try to defend the Trinity by saying that it is a biblical thing. But they don't want to go to the history. Because once you take them to the history, they're disarmed. They cannot do anything about it but admit it or ignore it or omit it. Protestant Trinitarians won't even admit that they took the Trinity from the Roman Catholic Church. If you study the Reformation and study the writings of, for example, Martin Luther or John Calvin, you'll find out that they were Catholic priests who came out of the Catholic Church. And so they retained some of their teachings, especially the Trinity and infant baptism. So Protestant Trinitarians should admit that the Trinity is coming from the Roman Catholic Church, but they don't. Very cunningly, they talk that it's a biblical doctrine, and they started using verses, the same verses that Philo of Alexandria, the one who came up with the Trinity in the 1st century, was using. This is modern Trinitarians are using the same verses that Philo of Alexandria used, with the exception of the New Testament, because Philo didn't use John 1:1. But the early Greek fathers who took the writings of Philo did use John 1:1 to change the logos from the logos of John to the logos of Greek philosophy, which was an entity that existed along with God, and a messenger who went and did everything that God wanted him to do. So this is what we're up against. The history is a revealer of the Trinity as being totally false and developed with Greek philosophy, the main source, Philo of Alexandria. And to be honest with you, the creeds of today are really false creeds that are used to teach the Trinity. The Ante-Nicene Creed is a forgery. And so if you study that, you're going to find out that Athanasius did not write it. It was someone else in the 5th century. And if you study the Ante-Nicene Creed, it has a lot of mumbo jumbo that's never in the Bible. So there you have it. This is our strongest source against the Trinity, the historical development of it and the men who were involved, who were Greek philosophers.